Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm It's Robbie Rhino, and in today's video we are heading back to Cold War and we are taking a look at the Centurion Mark II, which is the first tank in the line that leads to the Challenger 2, and this is a medium tank that is in Era 1. It's a British medium tank for the Western Alliance and it's an absolute DPM beast. And this tank has a choice of two guns, which I will go over in just a second, and I recommend that you use the stock gun, and I will explain why. I have three replays for you today, and the first one you'll see in the background is on Fredvang, and this is when I still had the stock turret, the stock gun, and I believe even the stock engine, and yeah, I still have a really nice result. And this is when I sort of fell in love with the Centurions all over again after playing them in World War II. I really like the hold down play style, and I think this tank is actually a little bit underrated by a lot of players. I'm seeing a lot of comments saying that they aren't liking this tank, it's not very good in Cold War, or especially in Era 1, and I think the complete opposite. Of course that's all down to opinion, but I think the DPM that this tank has means that you can absolutely decimate the enemy. And yeah, let's get into some of the statistics of the tank. So stock, as you'll see in this game in the background, I have 1470 hit points, which is low, but with the fully upgraded turret, which is I think the last upgrade on the tank, that rises by 200 hit points to 1670. It's got a base view range of 460, which isn't too bad. Of course that will go up with your commander and your equipment setup. Mobility wise, it's a little bit disappointing. It's got a 750 horsepower engine base, and that gives it a horsepower to ton ratio of 17.06. Unfortunately, it's capped at 34.6 kilometers an hour going forwards and 12.2 kilometers an hour going backwards, so it is rather slow. It's not like a lot of tanks in Cold War that are very fast, but this does have other things going for it, like the turret armour and the DPM, and yeah, I'll get onto that in just a second. The turret reverse is 32 degrees a second, which isn't too bad, and the hold reverse is 38, so yeah, that's not too bad as well, and it gets up to the top speed pretty well. It just doesn't obviously go any faster than that unless you are going down a steep slope. Of course you can use the mobility equipment, but I didn't on this tank, purely because I just wanted to invest everything into the DPM, into the view range, and whilst I was grinding I wasn't really fussed, and I could always change that if I decided to on the Centurion 5.1 and the tanks that come after this. Armour wise, pretty much all you need to know is get a hold down and use your turret armour. It's 254mm on the front and 89 on the sides and the rear, and when you're using your gun depression you have an effective armour degree of about 270 on the cheeks, about 235 around the gun. If you're aiming directly at the gun you can sort of shoot there, and it's a slight weak point, but it is a little bit of spaced armour, so do be careful if you're firing heat or HE. And yeah, and if you're using your gun depression you have an effective armour value of 280mm right at the top of the turret, and you do have a cupola which is about 75mm thick, but if you use your gun depression, yeah, it's very hard to hit, and if you're sort of moving backwards and forwards and rocking backwards and forwards, it's going to be hard to hit, and people will just bounce off your turret, especially some of the sort of light tanks that don't have brilliant penetration. Yeah, in Era 1. Speaking of the gun depression, we'll head on to that now. It has 10 degrees of gun depression, which is really nice, and it also has 18 degrees of gun elevation, which isn't too bad. And now we get on to the fun bit, the guns. This comes stock with a 17-pounder gun, yeah, and it fires 14.29 rounds a minute for 200 alpha damage, giving you a DPM of 2,858 base, which is absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, the penetration is slightly lacking, so on its standard rounds you have 200mm of penetration, on its premium APCR rounds you have 244, and on its HE you have 44mm of penetration for 250 alpha damage. You have a base reload time of 4.2 seconds, a base aim time of 1.7 seconds, and you have a base accuracy of 0.32 meters, which isn't too bad because you will get that down with your commander and equipment setup. It also carries 74 rounds, which is, yeah, more than enough. Even if you fire sort of constantly, you know, you won't be coming to the end of that, even with this fantastic DPM. I think the only tanks in Era 1, actually, I actually know the only tanks in Era 1 that have better DPM are the Walker Bulldog and the PT-76. The Walker Bulldog is obviously very, very competitive and very good, but the PT-76 is god-awful, and I'll be doing another video on that tank, probably in my worst tanks to play in World of Tanks console series. The next option you have is the upgraded gun, which is a 20-pounder gun. It fires 10 rounds a minute, and it has 230 alpha damage on its standard and premium rounds, and 280 alpha damage on its HE, with penetration values of 230 on standard, 284 on its premium APCR rounds, and 42mm of penetration on its HE rounds, with a base reload time of 6 seconds, a 1.9 second aim time, and 0.31 meters accuracy. And although this tank does have that little bit higher alpha damage and it has that higher penetration on its standard and its premium rounds, I feel like the trade-off for losing, you know, quite a bit of DPM. So with the 20-pounder, your DPM is 2,300 base, and with the 17-pounder, your DPM is 2,858. So yeah, you're losing 558 DPM just to upgrade your gun, and I feel like that's the main kind of focus of this tank, especially in Era 1. So I choose to use the upgraded turret with the stock gun and fire a substantial amount of premium rounds, and I've been having really nice results and better results doing it that way around. And if you're a completely free-to-play player, yeah, by all means go for the 20-pounder. It's still a lovely gun, but I feel that the 17-pounder is brilliant. It allows you to track people, keep them in place, and if people come at you, you absolutely ruin them. And just as we get to the end of the discussion about the guns, we finish the gameplay in the background, where I finish in second place behind another pleb member, Lone Wolf, who we worked well together at the start with. We do 3k direct damage, we do 1000 assistance. We don't get any kills, unfortunately, but we do get 1488 base experience points, and yeah, really, really nice game. And you can see I even made a little bit of silver on my way to the next tank. So we're going to head on into the second replay. I'll finish talking about the tank, and then we'll talk about what we're doing in the gameplay. So we're now into the second replay of the video. We're here on Dukla Pass, and I'll just talk you through my equipment and my commander setup, and then we'll have a look at what this tank is capable of, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing in the games and sort of what my ideas are and how I play this tank to get the most out of it. So for my equipment, I run advanced loader, gun stabilizer, and advanced optics. Very kind of standard medium tank setup, and it's a very good starter setup if you're trying to grind through a line, especially a medium tank sort of line heading into heavy tanks. You want to get your DPM as high as possible, you want to be accurate, and you know, you want to be able to outspot your opponents, and yeah, having that optics just pushes your view range to a point where you're able to spot light tanks and that kind of thing when they're hiding in bushes firing at you, if you can't see them with the true vision system that's in Cold War. On my commander, I run 6th Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Rapid Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Situational Awareness, and Armour Angling. And 6th Sense and Born Leader, on every tank, that's the two skills that I put on first. I want to be notified when I'm spotted, and I want to improve everything basically about my tank. I also want to get my DPM up with the rapid loading. I have the steady aim, rapid aim, snapshot, run and gun. For accuracy, it's a medium tank. I want to be hitting my shots. This is a very accurate tank anyway, or that's kind of what British tanks are known for, I think, in World War. At least that's kind of the gist that I'm getting anyway, or that I've got over the years of playing. And yeah, situational awareness, because I want to improve my view range just that bit higher, and I want that to work in conjunction with the advanced optics. And armor angling is a choice because it's a commander that will be going into the tanks going into this line, so I'm going to be moving them up to like the Challenger 1, Challenger 2 when I get to Era 3, so I want to have that skill in place ready. And it's always nice to reduce the damage you're taking because it means you're going to be staying in the battle just that little bit longer. You could invest into something that stops, you know, fire, chance, that kind of thing. That's completely up to you, but this is the setup that I use, and I think the first 8 skills are very generic kind of medium tank setup, and a very good setup for maybe a new player that wants to improve a little bit of everything about their tank. So with those skills in place and with the equipment in place, I now have a view range of 562 meters, and I'll just talk you through the DPM increase with my commander skills and my equipment setup. So now on the 17 pounder gun I have a DPM of 3680, which is absolutely insane. That's absolutely rapid, as you can see me tearing into the opponents in the background. And with the 20 pounder gun, my DPM goes from 2300 to 2962. So this is the tank speciality: hold down, use your turret armor, and use your DPM, and yeah, you've got plenty of chance to fire. If you miss a shot, then you've got another one coming very, very quickly. As you can see with my enhanced combat rations, my reload is, let's just see, yeah, reload is 2.9 seconds, which is incredible for 200 alpha damage, and it's a very, very powerful tank. The mobility does hold it back slightly because, you know, sometimes if you're trying to get the last bit of damage out of a game, the friendlies on your team might sort of get there first, and you want to get to a position first and your teammates beat you to it. But apart from that, I think this tank is really, really nice. You can even do a nice bit of side scraping in it. The hull is weak, but if you find a really nice place to get hull down, track someone and you can just unload into them. And when you find a tank like I have done here, finding the enemy Centurion Mark II, I'm just pounding shot after shot. I'm going for the tracks, and that's what I always try and do with a tank with this kind of rate of fire, is go for the tracks. Obviously I can't aim and I missed the tracks there, but I was going for the tracks and trying to keep them in place. And if you do that, you know, you're going to be able to get all that lovely juicy assistance damage, and you're going to be able to stop tanks trying to ram you, because they will. Heavier tanks will come at you and try and ram you. They're faster than you, but if you track them before they get to you, then you obviously stop receiving damage from ramming, and that's happened to me a lot, and I think it's really, really nice. Do be a little bit wary of the shell velocity. As you can see, the shell velocity isn't brilliant, even if you are using the premium APCR. The shell velocity on its standard rounds, on its AP rounds, is 884. It's 1204 on its premium APCR, so it isn't as good as some tanks in Cold War, or quite a lot of them. So you are going to have to lead just that little bit more. But as you can see here again in the background, I'm going for the tracks. I'm trying to keep this T-54 in place. He keeps getting re-stealthed, but he is just yeah, he's a sit and duck there, and he gets swiftly finished off by the friendly Centurion 2 on my team. And I think this is a really, really good tank. I think a lot of people maybe prefer the faster sort of tanks, the sort of light tanks, faster mediums, and the faster heavies, which is completely understandable. I mean, I'm used to playing a kind of hold down role, and I think this tank prepares you really, really well, and obviously the Centurions do for the later tanks. Having played the premium that came out, which is the level 100 reward for this season, it's another hold down, slow, heavy, and yeah, this tank really, really prepares you for it. So in that game, we have a lovely result. We pick up 4.1k direct damage, 1300 assistance damage. We pick up 3 kills and get 1784 base experience points and finish MVP. Even prior and all that premium, we still make a slight profit, and if you do hit your shots and have good results, you still will be making profit if you fire APCR, and if you double that with a booster, you might even make quite a lot. So we're going to jump on into the third and final replay, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing in that game. So we're now in the third and final replay of the video. We're here on Armour, and yeah, as you can see, there are a lot of Centurion 2s. Obviously this was when the line came out, so everyone is trying to race towards the Challenger 1 and 2, and I can't wait to get there. But in the meantime, I've got to do a lot of grinding and make a hell of a lot of silver, because I've spent all my silver on modules, which is slightly frustrating in Cold War, but hey, that's the economy, and just going to have to deal with it, just like in real life. I go from having money to not having money when it's payday. So on this map, I'm going to try and head right down to sort of D6, D5, where there are sort of ridge lines there, and I can go hold down. I'm going to use my view range to spot tanks that might be coming in from the sort of from the south sort of west area. Just going to be careful when I go around this corner, make sure that I'm not caught out by tanks that have already made it to the ridge. And as you can see, there are two tanks there. This T-44A has beat me to the ridge, and that is one of the problems, as I mentioned in the last two replays. You do struggle to get to the positions before your opponents, but once you do get there, and as long as they don't absolutely all in you, you are pretty damn good hold down. So we're going to use this position here to try and get shots into this NM116 and also the Centurion in the back. It's a slightly awkward position purely because the ridge line doesn't allow me to use my 10 degrees of gun depression as good as I'd like. I'd like to be a little bit further over to the right, but I don't want to get absolutely rinsed by making that cross. So I'm just going to sit here. I've got a friendly with me, and I'm going to try and clear the side of the map where those enemies are flanking round. I don't want to get shot on the side, so I'm just falling back, keeping an eye on the mini-map to see where tanks are coming from, and I'm just gonna retreat if necessary and use these lovely little ridge lines and rocks. And I think this is what makes this tank so versatile, is that you can just either advance from ridgeline to ridgeline, or you can fall back from ridgeline to ridgeline. I'm making some misplays here, exposing my hull, and as you can see, the hull is very weak. But once I get into positions, you'll see what this tank is capable of. So I think that I'm not going to get much done there, so I'm just going to push over to this side of the map, where I think there are a couple of enemy tanks just below me, in front of me, and obviously this T-44A comes up onto the ridge line to my left. Going for the tracks there and just pumping round after round while he is in front of my whole team, just sat on that ridge line. He's got a damaged turret, and yeah, it's just going to take one more shot to finish him off. So of course I bounce it, but eventually we do get the next shell in to finish that T-44A off, and you can see how quickly the damage racks up in this tank once you're pounding away with this 17-pounder gun. I've picked up nearly 1,000 assistance and 1,349 direct damage. We get a lovely killing shot into the enemy Centurion 2 there, and I'm just using my gun depression, these ridge lines to my advantage, just to get angles on these tanks that are to my left. This is a little bit of a risky play going up onto this hill here, but I'm feeling if I haven't been shot already, then most likely there's nothing to my direct left. I just got to be a little bit careful of tanks right behind me. I'm keeping an eye on my mini-map just to make sure that, you know, no one comes after me, that I don't expose myself too much, because it's going to take me a little bit longer than some other tanks to get off of this hill. Still getting used to sort of leading with this tank, trying to get shots in as I'm retreating, so I'm not fully aiming. But this is lovely when you can see the tank in the background and, you know, you can fire. I'm starting to get used to the true vision, and I wouldn't like it in World War II, but I'm starting to like it a lot in Cold War. So I'm still just going around this little mid-ridge here. The enemies have sort of come full circle, and they've kind of gone in a clockwise motion, and they're heading towards our base. So I'm just going to stay on this hill and stay to the edges, so that if I do have to fall off to get out of the way, I will do so. I was going to help that light tank, but unfortunately he gets shut down by the M47, and I'm just gonna fire it whatever is available, and yeah, try and help my team out, because this is a very, very close game, and if we can try and get some damage in now, it should make the end of the game a little bit easier. So I am spotted, and I know that I am on a hill, and I am exposing myself to the enemy team, but nothing's shooting me, so I'm assuming they don't have shots on me at the moment. And now I'm just going to use the edge of this ridge to poke over, use my 10 degrees of gun depression, and get shots into the side of the enemies. And they are getting pounded in the side. They don't quite know where to go. There's not really anywhere they can go. And when you are hitting someone for 200 on average, every sort of 3 seconds, they start to sort of, I wouldn't say panic, but they try and get out of the way. They expose themselves to your teammates. They give your friendlies their side, or they give you their side, and you can take full advantage of that. So now there's a tank coming up behind me, trying to get me out of the game, but I'm gonna try and get a shot in there just as he comes over the ridge, and he gets shut down by my friendly Centurion 2. Now I'm going to go after this object 165, get a shot into him, trying to take him out. And now there's just this M47, which I know is the other side of this ridge line. I was hoping to sort of come and do a little jump or a little ram off the side of this this hill here, so let's see how that goes. Unfortunately, he's a little bit far away. But now I'm just going to go for the tracks, miss, but I'm going to keep on just shot after shot into the lower plate. Go for the tracks there, trying to keep him in place. As it's a lower caliber gun, it might take 1 to 3 shots to track opponents, but once you do get them tracked, you do get that lovely assistance. And yeah, that was a nice little fast-paced end to that game, and we finished with a fairly decent result, and I hope this showed you what this tank's capable of and what this DPM is capable of. So we have 3 kills there, we get the Mastery Badge, 4.4k direct damage, 1491 assistance. Yeah, 3 kills, we make a nice bit of silver there with, I think, one of the ops that's going on at the moment. We blocked 200, and yeah, another cracking game on my way to the Centurion 5-1. So I hope you've all enjoyed this replay. I hope this has given you an insight into maybe choosing what gun you want to use and how to set this tank up and how to play it. It's basically an indicator of how to play the rest of the line. Sort of, they're slightly slow, but you want to be able to get into position to use your turret armour and your DPM to rip your enemies to shreds. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, let me know in the comments because I'm British. But yeah, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you've all had an awesome weekend. Can't wait for the content coming out this week. There'll be lots more videos to come. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.